Good day to everyone. I wish to thank the organizers of this Congress for giving me the opportunity to be part by sharing my experiences, knowledge, and insights, especially in this time of pandemic. A special mention goes to the President of Universidad Técnica de Babahoyo, Dr. Marcos Oviedo, and Vice President for Research and Postgraduate Studies, Dr. Maria Bernarda Lova Cueva, for the invitation. Of course, I will not forget my good friend, Dr. Walter Reyes Borja, the Director del Instituto de Investigación y Desarrollo, because if not of him, I will not be with you today. So my talk in this Congress is about strengthening livestock reproduction amidst COVID-19 pandemic. I decided not to present with the full view of this slide because I want you to see the notes of my talk in Spanish. I'm sorry, though I stayed in Ecuador for 1 year, my Spanish has not improved much, so I just put the notes below each slide for you to read. Thanks to my friend Dr. Walter Reyes for the translation. With the unforeseen challenges that the COVID-19 pandemic has posed in every sector of the society, it is important to give attention to this area because sustainability of livestock production lies on the reproduction of animals. So in this talk, I will be talking about the challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic in livestock production so we can give attention to it. Present some reproduction management strategies in augmenting the challenges in order to sustain and strengthen the livestock reproduction in spite all the challenges and limitations posed by the pandemic, and to take time to look at the opportunities to further during the time of the pandemic that we might need to sustain for a more improved livestock production. As I have said, the pandemic is an unforeseen emergency that posed a grave societal threat worldwide. While public health protection is the top priority, mitigation of the negative impact must be exercised not only by the governments and policymakers but also by everyone, both local and international. In this situation, response efforts on key sectors that contribute to food security, nutrition, and livelihoods need to be strengthened. The livestock sector is a key contributor to these areas, especially for the world's most vulnerable populations. Hence, a need of a strategic response is really needed. In this slide, you can see a response effort, a webinar that became a platform of meetings and communication. Here, professors from Thailand, India, and Philippines are planning the implementation of a research project on the examination and establishment of gene markers for male fertility. Here is a milk delivery truck used to deliver milk for processing due to the limitations and market problems posed by the pandemic. The effects of COVID-19 on the livestock sector are still largely unquantified, but was felt by the dairy producers. During the initial phase of the pandemic, dairy farmers around the world experienced marketing problems due to the lockdown, where restaurants closed and consumers' buying capacities and opportunities decreased due to unemployment and movement limitations. As milk products are highly perishable, some farmers just throw away their milk due to spoilage and due to lack of storage. As you can see in this photo, a buffalo milk producer in Australia and China just threw away the milk because of closure of the restaurants where they delivered their milk. Milk processing facilities also closed due to lack of manpower and because raw milk cannot be given away, so they have no option but to throw away their milk. This slide shows some of the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic in livestock production. It was categorized by the Food and Agriculture Organization into animal production, processing, transport, and sales and consumption. We are fortunate because there are actions that can be taken to protect this sector and its activities, services, and products upon which the world relies. During the initial part of the pandemic, dairy farmers stopped milking their animals because of marketing problems. This has a very big effect not only to the farmers because of no income, but to the animals as well. In the Philippines, my family launched a buffalo milk drive project where we bought dairy products and distributed to less fortunate people in our community. The objective of this project is to support the local dairy farmers and bringing healthy and nutritious milk products to the community, boosting immunity and the industry amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. Because it was locked down, my daughter was the one who prepared this poster at home. She printed in bond paper and put them together. The logos, yes, we put them not because they provided funds for the project, but because they are part in our career success. We are just paying back. Using Facebook, I also posted who wants dairy products, capitalizing only to those people in our city because my husband and I can only move around our city due to the lockdown. I asked their orders, and there were many people who responded and are interested. So we summarized their orders, get the products in the PCC dairy plant, and delivered. My car, an XUV, and my husband's car, a pickup, were used in the delivery. This is me and this is my husband. I posted this on Facebook and it had a very good impact in the marketing of dairy products. Our executive director, he also saw my post and also saw me at the PC dairy plant when I bought the dairy products, and because of that, the Buffalo Milk Drive was adopted and implemented by the Philippine Carabao Center as a way to market dairy products to overcome marketing problems. It was branded a new name called the Buffalo Milk on Wheels. Coordination with local officials in all areas in the region were made so that the project of Buffalo Milk on Wheels will be adopted and supported. This has resulted to the development of many resellers that help market the dairy products, thereby overcoming the storage limitation, spoilage, and marketing problem. With that, Buffalo Milk on Wheels became a COVID-19 mitigation activity nationwide. While most of the staff are in a work-from-home arrangement, staff volunteers participated and became a regular activity during the time of the enhanced community quarantine, where only authorized personnel are allowed to move around. So all the regional centers of the Philippine Carabao Center adopted the Buffalo Milk on Wheels, and this resulted to development of two local channels of the business chain, the local resellers and the local delivery services. The local resellers use the social networking facilities to get orders, and the local delivery services were tapped to get and deliver the orders. This has resulted to increased demand of dairy products that activated the dairy sector to enhance milk production activities. So, the need to strengthen reproduction in livestock became a call. It became important. As reproductive biotechnologies and considering the manpower and movement limitations posed by the pandemic, the following reproductive management strategies are employed to augment the challenges. One is the use of bull and the artificial insemination, the embryo transfer, and pregnancy diagnosis. The use of bull for breeding remains the best strategy to facilitate breeding and reproduction. So, bull dispersal program was enhanced. By putting a bull in the herd, calf and milk production will surely be achieved. No need to carry out estrus detection because the bull can identify the female in estrus. However, genetic diversity and genetic improvement is limited by the use of a bull. So, artificial insemination and embryo transfer remain as important strategy to ensure the mentioned activities. Artificial insemination is the oldest reproductive biotechnology used in enhancing diversity and production of genetically superior animals by using bulls that are selected based on milk and meat production performance. By artificial insemination, the livestock raiser can select the bull that will be used in breeding his animal. The semen of the best bulls are collected using artificial vagina, kept on straws, and stored in liquid nitrogen to transport to the livestock raiser. Using the artificial insemination gun, the semen of the best bull is inseminated to the reproductive tract of the female that is in estrus. In the embryo transfer uses embryos instead of semen in the production of calves. The embryos are either produced in vivo or in vitro. This technique can also be done by a trained AI technician if frozen embryos are available. But usually, the livestock raiser calls the embryo transfer service provider to do the procedures of embryo production and transfer. The embryo transfer service providers are skilled personnel on either in vivo collection of embryos from superovulated genetically superior cows or produce the embryos in vitro by in vitro maturation and fertilization of oocytes that are collected by ovum pickup or OPU from live genetically superior females. Embryos produced by somatic cell nuclear transfer is also used for embryo transfer. So, in this technique, the embryos are transferred to the recipient cows 5 to 7 days after estrus, depending on the age and stage of the embryos for transfer. Using this technology, it is very fast to produce genetically superior animals. I said earlier that in carrying out artificial insemination or embryo transfer, estrus detection is important to ensure the success. Standing still to be mounted where the female remained standing when being mounted by other animals is the best sign. Other signs are restlessness, increase in activity, that is, increased by about greater than 90% at the estrus periods, mounting in approximately 90% of the estrus periods, and discharge of clear mucus, swelling and reddening of the vulva, dirt marks caused by the frequent mounting by herdmates, decreased milk production at the first milking after the onset of estrus, followed by a compensatory increase at subsequent milking, decreased feed intake, sniffing the vulva of another cow, presence of fleamen, resting with the chin on the back of the another cow, leaking, rubbing, aggression, and increase of the body temperature by 0.3 to 0.4 degrees centigrade. There are technologies that also enhance the detection of estrus by the surveillance of behavior in the absence or in addition to visual observation. Some of the available technologies for estrus detection are summarized in this figure. Checking the vulva temperature where temperature increased to 0.3 to 0.4 degrees centigrade above its normal temperature when not in estrus is one of the signs. So livestock raiser must have a normal temperature record of his animal. Pressure sensor, chalk that shows if the female animal was mounted. Increased activity of cows in estrus can be measured by pedometers and accelerators. Pedometers calculate the change in the number of steps per unit of time, while accelerators measure the acceleration forces in 3 dimensions. Above a certain threshold, these devices indicate that a cow is in estrus and AI can be done. To minimize the burden of estrus detection, where estrus observation will just be limited for 1 to 5 days instead of 21 days, technology of estrus synchronization and a more precise deovulation synchronization can be used. This involves the injection of hormones to females depending on its physiological condition to bring it to estrus. This enables the technician to do artificial insemination or embryo transfer in most appropriate time. There are different regimen or protocols in carrying out estrus synchronization. The approach that you can see in this slide is the approach involves single injection of prostaglandin. Prostaglandin is a kind of hormone that when you inject it to the animal will cause regression of the corpus luteum, but it should not be given if the animal is pregnant because it can cause abortion. So in this regimen, at day 0 is the beginning day of the protocol where female animals are observed for estrus and inseminated if they showed estrus. If they did not show estrus, they will be injected with prostaglandin on day 5 to cause luteolysis or regression of the corpus luteum or CL. The CL is the one that secretes the progesterone hormone and remains in the ovary if the animal is pregnant. Once the animal is not pregnant, then it will regress. Once injected with prostaglandin, the injected animal will come to estrus 1 to 4 days, depending on the size of the follicle present in the ovary during the injection of the prostaglandin. Another estrus synchronization protocol involves 2 injections of prostaglandin 11 days apart. Prostaglandin is administered on day 0 to all non-pregnant female animals. If there are animals that come to heat 1 to 5 days after injection, then they can be artificially inseminated. On the 11th day, those that were not inseminated will be subjected to the second prostaglandin injection and artificially inseminated 1 to 5 days thereafter, depending on the occurrence of estrus. This is another protocol, the CIDR protocol, or CIDR means Controlled Internal Drug Release, where CIDR is inserted into the vagina on day 0, and on day 7, the CIDR is removed and prostaglandin is injected to cause luteolysis of the functional corpus luteum and have the animal return to estrus. Artificial insemination is carried out 1 to 5 days thereafter, depending on the day when the animal becomes estrus. This is the GnRH synchronization protocol. GnRH means gonadotropin releasing hormone, and it is divided into 3 different procedures: the select sync, the obi-sync, and the co-sync. In select sync, GnRH is injected on day 0 to cause ovulation if there is a dominant follicle and start a new wave. On day 7, prostaglandin is injected to cause luteolysis of functional corpus luteum. Then, on day 8 to 12, estrus is observed and AI is performed. In obi-sync protocol, day 0 to day 7 treatments is followed, but on day 9, GnRH injection is implemented 48 hours after the prostaglandin injection. The females are artificially inseminated on 8 and 18th hours after the second injection of the GnRH. So we call this the fixed time artificial insemination, or FTAI. The day 9 is the second GnRH injection. In co-sync, The same treatment for day 0 to day 7 and day 9, where GnRH is injected on day 9 plus AI is also performed. So there is no need to wait for 8 to 18 hours. So right after you injected the prostaglandin on the GnRH on day 8, then you can already perform AI. Following these procedures, improved pregnancy rate is achieved, but success rate remains to be depend upon the technician who carry out the procedure. Another very important practice that needs to be done by livestock research during the pandemic is pregnancy diagnosis. This is to check if the animals that are bred by the bull or through artificial insemination or embryo transfer became pregnant or not. This is to ensure proper management and avoid long calving interval. To check if the animal is pregnant or not, there are various methods, and in this slide, you can see the clinical method that includes rectal palpation and ultrasonography. So this is the clinical method. The rectal palpation, where the technician inserts his hand to the rectum and check the presence or absence of the fetus. This can be done 45 days after artificial insemination and embryo transfer, or after the breeding using a bull. By ultrasonography, a probe is inserted into the rectum to check the presence or absence of the fetus. By using ultrasonography, pregnancy can be checked 25 days earlier than the rectal palpation. By immunological tests, pregnancy diagnosis can be carried out by collecting blood, urine, or milk sample from the artificially inseminated animals 21 to 30 days after AI or ET to check the progesterone level or the presence of pregnancy-specific protein B or PSPB or the pregnancy-associated glycoproteins or PAGs. High concentration of this hormone and proteins mean pregnancy in the animal. By determining if the animal became pregnant after artificial insemination or embryo transfer or after breeding, then we can be assured of better management system and sureness of calf delivery associated by milk production that guarantees income and food. By strengthening the livestock reproduction, milk supply, income, food security, and boosting immunity of the consumers are assured, thereby mitigating the effects of the pandemic. So in the area of livestock production, here are the opportunities to founder during the pandemic. We need to boost our immune system to be strong and resistant to infection while helping the dairy and meat industry sustain production and income. Strengthening the consumption of milk products and engaging on online retailing business could address these concerns. This moment of uncertainty is very important to be connected with partners and with what is happening in the field. I believe that we will come out of this situation better and stronger with many lessons. This pandemic has provided a more effective contact with all the links in the production chain, which allow us to see new opportunities by bringing knowledge to farmers while seeking to make production increasingly appropriate to the consumer market. Based on the situation generated by the COVID-19 pandemic, competitive advantage increase for those whose production is focused on quality, sanity, and who is able to supply volume and good quality. Recognition is due to the agents who continue to maintain their activities to prevent food production and commercialization from stopping. We must compliment all these warriors, especially the farmers, who are in the field maintaining production amid this difficult scenario, and also the companies that, despite temporary stoppage, have managed to bounce back, in addition to the inspectors and authorities who keep this whole system working. Lastly, The Sustainable Calf Production Program. This program needs to be strengthened by every nation. The purpose is to improve the production and marketing dynamics of the livestock chain to make it increasingly inclusive and financially sound. Although it is hard to forecast exactly what will happen in the implementation of calf production program during this time of the pandemic, we can be almost certain that as after every massive disruption, profound changes will occur. With that, I want to end my talk by sharing you this WhatsApp message I got last September 17 from a friend. This photo was taken at the ganaderia of the Universidad Técnica de Babaoyo in 2015. Thank you for your kind attention. I am now to entertain any question and clarification that you might have about my talk. Thank you, and I wish everybody safety from COVID-19 and a wonderful life ahead.